Greetings, Guardians, my name is Bife here. So we've talked about the reactions of both Keitel and the Drifter to Eris Morn's ascension into godhood. So far, it's been a stressful, but relatively smooth process of breaking the news to people. The Drifter was cool as a cucumber when learning about Eris's transformation, and felt no worry seemingly, trusting her implicitly. Empress Keitel also reacted surprisingly well to the news, stating that she trusted Eris's judgment and that her own understanding of the light and dark was not well refined enough to truly understand whether this was a good or bad idea. She stated that her legions and herself would no longer be in any parties that might intervene in the plan. So far, it's all looking relatively calm. But then again, we have yet to see what everyone else thinks. And I can tell you right now that there's at least one member of the so-called Dark Vanguard who has a few opinions on the matter. Today we'll be talking about the Exo Stranger and a much more serious reaction to Eris's choice to become a hive god. So, let's talk specifics. The Exo Stranger, aka Elsie Bray, has been wandering through time for a long time now, and has seen the triumph of the Witness more times than any can remember. She's also seen common recurring patterns that are different in this timeline from what they were in others. These include moments such as the rise of Eramis, Guardians becoming corrupted by stasis, the fall of the tower to Savathûn, and the death of Ikora Rey. But most troubling of all, there is a figure that rises as a force of evil in these failed timelines. They announce themselves to be the new witch, and one who eventually even rises to a point of bringing Savathûn to heel. That figure is, of course, Eris Morn. The Eris Morn of our timeline was at risk of falling down this path, but thanks to the actions of the Exo Stranger, when she began to learn stasis, Eris Morn was able to control the darkness of stasis and was able to use it against our enemies, instead of being corrupted by them and being turned to their side. But Elsie Bray is a victim of 1,000 failed timelines, and she has seen all of this pan out before. Our timeline is significantly different, but that doesn't mean she isn't still cautious. You can see exactly how all of this pans out in the Dark Future Lorebook, which has been a source of a great degree of discussion within Destiny's community ever since its publication. To give you an idea of the contents of the book in summary, Elsie Bray is stuck in a timeline where the last city has been lost. She finds Anna Bray, who has lost her ghost and her light. Together, they come up with a plan to defeat the darkness, which involves resurrecting the Warmind Rasputin. They travel to the Deepstone Crypt and place the remnants of Rasputin's data into an exo body, who then accompanies them for the remainder of their journey. They venture to what remains of the last city, nothing but rubble. There they discover Commander Zavala, who has had one of his legs torn off by Savathûn in the final battle for the last city. It's here that he also confirms that Ikora died at the hands of the Witch Queen as she brought down the tower. After seeing Rasputin, though, Zavala believes that the Warmind can hopefully work on plans found within the wreckage of the nearby Almighty, which did fall in this timeline. They find the plans for just what they need, the cage that was used in the Red War to imprison the Traveler. Keep in mind that in this timeline, the Traveler abandoned humanity and Earth and moved on. They need to now chase the Traveler. With that plan of action in mind, Zavala does state that the true opposition isn't Savathûn or Eramis, but is instead Eris Morn, who has taken up residence in the Scarlet Keep and is using it as her fortress. Regardless of the enemy they face, their plan is the same: recapture the Traveler and use its light to defeat Eris and her dark forces assembled on the moon in the Ocean of Storms. In order to build the cage, though, they would need more resources than the four of them could muster alone, and so they headed to the newly commandeered Leviathan, which had been claimed by Queen Mara Sov, the Awoken and various Resistance members from a variety of races, including both the Elixni and the Cabal. After some hesitation from the Queen, Mara agrees to their plan. It's at this point that Anna Bray has been showing some troubling signs, and Elsie begins to learn what's going on, but perhaps not quickly enough to understand. Ever since they first reunited, Anna Bray had requested that Elsie teach her how to use stasis. Elsie is well aware of the corrupting power of this facet of darkness, and so refuses to teach her. which is something Anna grows to regret. Eventually, and with much struggle, the Traveler is found and is actually captured, despite briefly communicating with Zavala that this is not how things should happen. The plan is still in place though. They are going to use its light, Eris is going to be defeated, and her dark armies are going to be scattered. In the final battle on the moon, as they all assault the Scarlet Keep, the forces of good have considerable power at their back, even if Eris's powers are sizable as well. The Warmind and its assets are put to good use, scattering various fleets, and Zavala channels the whole of the Traveler's light in order to punch through the defenses of the Scarlet Keep. In the moment where the heroes reach Eris though, she is seemingly unfazed, and watches, laughing, as Anna Bray freezes Elsie, her sister, in place, and murders Queen Mara Sov. After everything that happened, it seems as though Anna took some time to learn stasis, just not from her sister. This is appropriately the moment at which the timeline all falls to pieces, and it even ends with Elsie Bray having to murder her sister. Anna is dead, but unfortunately that is not the last time that moment has been experienced. Elsie has experienced a variation of this kind of fall of the tower, these failed timelines, more times than she can possibly recount. So with Eris's transformation into a hive god in the Season of the Witch, Elsie most assuredly has opinions that are expressed to Ikora Rey in person this season. This interaction can be found in the Rites of Passage lawbook, in the A Matter of Distrust entry. It features a very hostile Elsie Bray, one that we've almost never seen, except even briefly, around her grandfather, Clovis Bray I. It reads as follows. As Ikora neared the console in the helm, a voice cried out from the shadows as a figure lunged for her. Ikora's hand moved reflexively to deflect the blow and deliver a killing strike, but she stopped after recognizing her attacker. She allowed Elsie to grab the front of her robes and shove her against the bulkhead. "Were you even listening?" Elsie screamed, her hands shaking in frustration. "How many reports, Ikora? How many times did I tell you what I saw?" The pain in her voice tore at Ikora. She knew the stories almost as well as Elsie at this point. The Exo had traveled back from a future where Eris Morn held dominion over everything, and even bent Savathun to her will. It had not ended well. Elsie pushed away and began to pace, furious. "Elsie," Ikora said gently, "I know the future you came from, but that is not this future." "I've seen what happens when Eris has unchecked power," Elsie hissed. "I've smelled the corpses." Ikora wanted to comfort Elsie, but knew that any attempt at camaraderie would push her further away. Instead, she straightened her robes. "The Eris in your timeline was corrupted by darkness," she said coolly. "Now we understand how to wield darkness without becoming lost in it." "Eris Morn was corrupted by power, Ikora," Elsie said. "The same power you're encouraging the Guardians to... She nearly choked on the words. "To tithe to her through hive rituals. Do you think that's somehow better?" Ikora took a breath. "I hear you," she said, with quiet authority. "And while I trust Eris, I will not lose my objectivity. If actions must be taken, I will take them." Elsie shook her head. "I wonder if you said the same thing before your body was buried in the wreckage of the tower." Ikora waited. "One cannot speak when the other is unwilling to listen," Osiris had once told. "It's in her voice," Elsie said. She sounded small. She sounded truly afraid, Ikora realized. "You can hear it, even through her hive transformation. When she speaks, she's smiling." Elsie took a careful breath. When she led her troops from the Scarlet Keep, when she attacked the Traveler, when she turned us against each other, and I was forced to... Ikora reached out a hand to stop her from having to say it. "To kill my sister," Elsie whispered, pleading for understanding. To kill Anna. Eris was smiling, that same smile. Ikora laced her fingers together and looked at the floor. I won't watch it happen again, Elsie said, and her voice was ice. Elsie's conviction is nearly impossible to break. She has seen timelines collapse and seen them fail over and over again. It's hard to be certain of almost anything when this particular set of topics is involved. The Dark Future Law book obfuscates people's distrust of Eris is something that causes them to be unsure of certain parts of what she's doing. And even if we do trust Eris, which I certainly do, there is always the question of the lurking darkness, the lurking corruption. It is something she has contended with for a long time, but there are many who can fall. I would simply state this, there is one thing I am certain of, and that is that Elsie is not going to change her opinion unless there is something truly remarkable. As for her reasons for distrusting Eris, I think that given the situation she's gone through, it's reasonable, and there's nothing that I think Ikora could say to change her mind. I also do believe that everything Ikora stated about Eris is true. The old Eris Morn from the previous Dark Future timeline was corrupted by darkness, and she has had enough guidance in this timeline to not fall down that trap, to not fall into this path of corruption. But perhaps more importantly, Eris seemingly has people, including herself, to live for. She has reasons to come back to us. Whether it's the friendship and camaraderie of what she has built with all of us, or whether it's the potential future that she plans to build for herself. Eris does have a reason to come back to us. Either way, Eris and Ikora did actually discuss this, all but briefly, in this season. Take a listen to this interaction at the end of the Spire of Savathun activity.
Eris, I spoke with Elizabeth Bray. I can imagine why. She fears phantoms, futures that have not come to pass. I do not fault her for her concern. Tell her I am not alone. I don't know if she'll understand. She has to.
I don't think that Elsie will trust in the nature of Eris Morn to not be corrupted, but if we can perhaps add one bit of context for the sake of comfort, it might be this. Eris Morn has chosen her godly aspect well enough that it limits her from harming her friends, in a certain degree. She has chosen to become the god of vengeance, and so long as she intends to seek revenge for all of the actions that the Hive have carried out against her and her friends, then she will not necessarily be able to harm her allies. As long as we seek revenge for the actions of Xivu Arath and Savathun and the rest of the Hive, she will grow more powerful and will channel that might towards that purpose. There will be indirect harm, there already has been. The distrust built by Eris even simply transforming in the first place is something that shouldn't be underestimated. But I don't think Eris will ever directly turn into our enemy. That, I think, is not part of this future, and I do not believe it will come to pass. As long as Eris continues to channel vengeance as her aspect. But it does make me wonder if there's might in the revenge that Elsie Bray might seek. For one timeline after another, for the moment where she was forced to murder her own sister because of Eris Morn's machinations. For now, keep an eye on the Exo Stranger. She may yet have a terrible part to play in all of this. One that we may have to talk her down from, one that she may regret regardless of what happens. Either way, Elsie's fury has been made adequately clear at this point. She does not trust Eris anymore. Not after these Hive transformations have taken place, and the power at her disposal has become unrivaled. But that's all from me for now. I do hope you enjoyed. If you did, go ahead and leave a like on this video and let me know down below. I think that there's a common idea amongst the community that Eris Morn is treading towards that dark future timeline possibility where she does fall to corruption. I'm personally still not convinced. I have trust. But regardless, it's hard to sit there and not listen to those arguments. It is very compelling to sit there and see someone transforming into a literal Hive god as someone that we shouldn't trust. So let me know where you stand. I wonder what the consensus of all this is. Additionally, Go ahead and let me know if you enjoyed the content by leaving a like, and know that you can also hit subscribe and the bell next to subscribe to turn on those email notifications if you want more Destiny content. But, as per usual, know that your viewership as always is quite enough for me. And in the meantime, my name is Byf. Parodacia ad Astra. I'll see you, Starside.